We've been living together as a brother and sister for the last 20 years.
Wow.
Waiting for that annulment.
The best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Let's go now to Martha in Houston. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Patrick. Thank you so much for taking my call. I really appreciate it. I was in a Bible study. The lady next to me, I asked her, I invited her, hey, you could be part of the Eucharist Revival, that is coming up, in our church. And she looked at me and she said, very sadly, she looked at me and she said, no, I can't. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I'm not allowed. And so she said, no, I am not married to the church, and I'm married to a Protestant. So it really touched me personally, and that's where, my question is going into it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, so I've been waiting for the past 33 years to get an annulment.
You say you have been or she has been?
I have been.
So it got you to thinking about your own situation then, right?
Exactly.
Your friend, the lady you're talking with about this, she is warmly invited to attend the Eucharistic Congress. Regardless of her marital situation, she is invited to draw near to Jesus. And you, even though, you only told me 5 seconds worth, but do I have it right that you're married in what would be objectively an invalid marriage? Was there a prior marriage?
I married into the church with my prior husband, which has been 33 years ago. Okay. He has been completely denying to give me the annulment.
Are you remarried now to another man?
I remarried to another person, which is a Catholic. He's in the faith.
Okay, but you're married civilly in the eyes of the law, but not in the eyes of God and the church, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so let me just interject here. So you are not in any way prohibited from attending the Eucharistic Congress. You are welcomed and encouraged to go. Draw closer to Jesus. Now, there are some things that, of course, if you're not, and you are not in a position where you can receive the Holy Eucharist, you're not properly disposed to receive the Holy Eucharist, but even that can be rectified. I can explain to you in a minute how to do that. But you can go. You can be at the Mass. You can participate in every way, draw close to Jesus, and yet you can't receive Jesus in Holy Communion. But let's talk about that for a minute. How can you fix that problem? Well, the first thing to do would be talk to your parish priest and ask him to help you initiate the process of an inquiry into your first marriage. Is it possible that first marriage was valid? Is it possible it was null? Now, hopefully, the ideal situation would be that you would reconcile with your husband, your first husband. Is that a possibility? Any chance of the two of you reconciling?
No.
Okay, so these are matters for you to talk to them about. But you mentioned that your first husband will not cooperate with that process, right? So it sounds like maybe It's already been attempted and he won't cooperate. Well, that, of course, complicates things, but that doesn't mean that the church can't still render a decision on that marriage if one spouse won't cooperate. That sometimes happens, sometimes out of anger. That road is not closed to you, but you would need to confer with your pastor or someone in the diocese to find out how to proceed, to find out officially from the church, are you free to get married in the case of nullity in the first marriage, or are you still validly married to your husband? In which case, you would need to leave the man that you're with. And I know that would be incredibly difficult, but if you're married to the first husband, then you can't be married to this man. So that would be my first suggestion. Push this point, push it, and find out, get a definitive answer, even if your first husband isn't cooperating. The answer may be, yes, you're still validly married, or it could be that the marriage was null. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, though, you can go to confession, make a good sacramental confession of all your mortal sins since the last time you went, including this second marriage that's objectively sinful. Confess all of those things, and you make a decision. Of course, your husband would have to participate in this decision, but you would make a decision to live as brother and sister.
Done.
Okay. If you and the man you're with now are no longer doing what married people do, you go to make a good sacramental confession, and you have the intention to do what God wants you to do. You're going to obey the church. What does the church determine in this first marriage? You're going to obey the church. You're going to obey the Lord out of love. You would be in a position to receive the Holy Eucharist.
The only thing that I need is just to get that stupid annulment from my ex-husband.
I would recommend if they shelved it, so to speak, I would reactivate the inquiry. Talk to your pastor.
Yes.
Okay. Have they reinitiated the process?
Yes.
Okay,
and I'm
good.
like, all the process that you've been telling me, I had done it. We've been, I've been married to my new husband for the past 28 years. We've been living together as a brother and sister for the last 20 years.
Wow.
Waiting for that annulment.
So here's what you can do, Martha. So while that annulment issue is working in the background, who knows how long that'll take? What a shame it's taken this long to find out one way or the other. But regardless, you want to follow Jesus, right?
Yes.
And you don't want to commit any sins, right?
Correct.
Okay. And he knows that. He knows that. And you and your husband have made the virtuous and heroic decision to live as brother and sister. So you're not doing what married people do.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you have a green light here, my dear. You can go to confession. You can get all of this stuff out, put it at the foot of the cross. And when you walk out of that confessional and you've received those words of sacramental absolution, you can go receive Holy Communion immediately.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Okay.
I'm so sorry that you've been suffering this way, but there is a path forward. Okay?
Thank you so much.
I will be at the Eucharistic Congress with Father Rocky and Drew and Cyrus and everyone else. So I hope that you'll be there, and I hope that you'll come over and say hello.
I sure will.
Okay. I'll be looking for that, and I'll be praying for you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.